Hey there, welcome to our video. Have you ever felt like you're not making progress on your spiritual path? Do you sometimes wonder why your efforts to grow and evolve seem to hit a wall? Well, you're not alone. Many people face obstacles in their spiritual growth without even realizing it. That's why we're here today to talk about 12 habits that might be holding you back from reaching your full spiritual potential. Before we dive in, let's talk about why awareness is so important. Recognizing these habits is the first step towards positive change. When we shine a light on the things that are blocking our progress, we gain the power to overcome them. This video isn't about making you feel bad about yourself. Instead, it's about empowering you with knowledge so you can make conscious choices that support your spiritual growth. Let's start with the first habit: negative self-talk. This is a big one that affects many of us. Negative self-talk is that inner voice that criticizes, doubts, and puts us down. It's like having a constant naysayer in your head, telling you that you're not good enough or that you can't achieve your goals. This habit can really hold back your spiritual growth because it keeps you focused on your perceived flaws and limitations instead of your potential. Negative self-talk can show up in many ways. It might be the voice that tells you you're not spiritual enough when you miss a meditation session. Or it could be the thought that you'll never be able to forgive someone who hurt you. These thoughts might seem small, but they add up over time and can create a barrier between you and your spiritual progress. To start breaking this habit, try to become more aware of your inner dialogue. When you notice a negative thought, pause and question it. Is it really true? Where did this thought come from? Often, you'll find that these thoughts are based on fear or past experiences, not on reality. By challenging these thoughts, you can start to change the narrative in your mind and create a more supportive inner environment for your spiritual growth. Moving on to our second habit: neglecting self-care. This one might surprise you. Many people think that spiritual growth is all about the mind and spirit, forgetting that we're also physical beings. But the truth is, our physical well-being has a huge impact on our spiritual health. When we neglect self-care, we're essentially telling ourselves that we're not worthy of care and attention. This can create a disconnect between our physical selves and our spiritual selves, making it harder to progress on our spiritual path. Plus, when we're tired, hungry, or in pain, it's much harder to focus on spiritual practices or to maintain a positive mindset. Self-care doesn't have to be complicated or time-consuming. It can be as simple as making sure you get enough sleep, eating nourishing foods, or taking a few minutes each day for physical movement. It might mean saying no to extra commitments so you have time to rest and recharge. Remember, taking care of your physical self isn't selfish. It's an essential part of creating a strong foundation for spiritual growth. The third habit that can hinder spiritual growth is comparing yourself to others. In today's world, it's so easy to fall into this trap. Social media shows us carefully curated glimpses of other people's lives and spiritual practices, and it's tempting to measure ourselves against what we see. But here's the thing: spiritual growth is a deeply personal journey. Your path is unique to you, shaped by your experiences, beliefs, and individual circumstances. When you compare yourself to others, you're not honoring your own journey. You might feel discouraged if you think someone else is more spiritual than you, or you might get caught up in trying to replicate someone else's practices instead of finding what truly resonates with you. To move past this habit, try to focus more on your own path. Instead of looking at what others are doing, ask yourself what feels right for you. What practices bring you peace? What beliefs resonate with your heart? Remember, spiritual growth isn't a competition. It's about becoming the best version of yourself, not trying to be someone else. Our fourth habit is dwelling on the past. This is a common one that can really hold us back from spiritual growth. When we're constantly replaying past events in our minds, especially regrets or painful memories, we're not fully present in the now. And being present is crucial for spiritual growth. Dwelling on the past can keep us stuck in old patterns and prevent us from seeing new possibilities. It can also fuel negative emotions like guilt, resentment, or sadness, which can block our spiritual progress. While it's important to learn from our past experiences, constantly reliving them doesn't serve our growth. To start letting go of this habit, try practicing mindfulness. When you notice your mind drifting to past events, gently bring your attention back to the present moment. Focus on your breath, the sensations in your body, or the sights and sounds around you. This takes practice, but over time, you'll find it easier to stay grounded in the present. Another technique is to practice forgiveness, both for others and for yourself. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or condoning harmful actions. It means releasing the hold that past events have on you, freeing yourself to move forward on your spiritual path. The fifth habit that can hinder spiritual growth is constant busyness. In our fast-paced world, it's easy to fall into the trap of always being on the go. We fill our schedules to the brim, leaving little time for quiet reflection or spiritual practices. But spiritual growth often requires stillness and space. When we're constantly busy, we're often operating on autopilot. We don't give ourselves the chance to pause, reflect, and connect with our inner selves or with something greater than ourselves. This busyness can also be a way of avoiding deeper issues or questions that we need to address for our spiritual growth. Creating moments of stillness doesn't mean you have to completely overhaul your life. It can start with small steps. Maybe you wake up 15 minutes earlier to have some quiet time before your day begins. Or you could try turning off your phone for an hour each evening to create space for reflection or meditation. Even taking a few deep breaths throughout your day can help create little pockets of stillness. Remember, it's in these quiet moments that we often gain the most profound insights and make the deepest connections. By making space for stillness, you're giving your spiritual self room to grow and flourish. The sixth habit we need to address is surrounding yourself with negative influences. The people and environments we spend time with have a huge impact on our spiritual growth. If we're constantly around negativity, it can be really challenging to maintain a positive, growth-oriented mindset. Negative influences can come in many forms. It might be friends or family members who are always complaining or criticizing. It could be media that promotes fear or anger, or it might be online communities that encourage judgment or negativity towards others. These influences can slowly but surely erode our spiritual progress, pulling us away from our path of growth and positivity. Creating a more positive environment doesn't mean cutting everyone out of your life who isn't perfectly positive all the time. Instead, it's about being mindful of the overall energy of your surroundings. Try to spend more time with people who inspire you, support your growth, and bring out the best in you. Seek out media and content that uplifts and encourages you. And don't be afraid to set boundaries with people or situations that consistently bring you down. Remember, you have the power to curate your environment. By consciously choosing more positive influences, you're creating a supportive atmosphere for your spiritual growth. Moving on to our seventh habit, neglecting gratitude. This might seem like a small thing, but it can have a big impact on your spiritual growth. When we forget to be grateful, we miss out on one of the most powerful tools for shifting our perspective and opening our hearts. Gratitude isn't just about saying thank you when someone does something nice for you. It's a way of looking at the world, of recognizing the good things in our lives, no matter how small. When we neglect gratitude, we tend to focus more on what's lacking in our lives or what's going wrong. This can lead to feelings of dissatisfaction, resentment, or scarcity, none of which are conducive to spiritual growth. Practicing gratitude doesn't have to be complicated. You could start by thinking of 3 things you're grateful for each morning when you wake up. Or you could keep a gratitude journal, writing down 1 thing you appreciate each day. You might even try expressing gratitude to others more often, not just for what they do, but for who they are. As you practice gratitude more regularly, you might notice a shift in your perspective. You may start to see more beauty in the world around you, feel more connected to others, and experience a greater sense of contentment. These are all important elements of spiritual growth. Our 8th habit that can hinder spiritual growth is the fear of change. This is a big one for many people. Change can be scary because it involves stepping into the unknown. But here's the thing: spiritual growth inherently involves change. It's about evolving, expanding our understanding, and becoming more of who we truly are. When we let fear of change hold us back, we stay in our comfort zones. And while comfort zones feel safe, they don't allow for much growth. We might stick to the same spiritual practices even if they no longer serve us, or hold on to beliefs without questioning them, simply because it's what we're used to. Overcoming the fear of change doesn't mean you have to make drastic changes all at once. It's about being open to new experiences and ideas. Maybe it means trying a new form of meditation, reading a book from a different spiritual tradition, or having a conversation with someone whose beliefs differ from yours. Remember, being open to change doesn't mean you have to change everything. It's about being willing to explore, to question, and to grow. As you become more comfortable with change, you might find that your spiritual path becomes more dynamic and fulfilling. The 9th habit we need to address is judging others. This is a subtle habit that can really hold us back in our spiritual growth. When we judge others, we create separation. We put ourselves in the position of deciding what's right or wrong, good or bad, rather than approaching others with openness and compassion. Judging others often comes from a place of insecurity or fear. We might judge someone else's spiritual practices as a way of validating our own. Or we might judge someone's actions because they trigger something uncomfortable in us. But every time we judge, we close our hearts a little bit. And spiritual growth is all about opening our hearts wider. To move away from this habit, try practicing compassion. When you notice yourself judging someone, pause and try to put yourself in their shoes. Remember that everyone is on their own journey, facing their own challenges. You don't have to agree with everyone or approve of every action, but you can choose to respond with understanding rather than judgment. Another practice is to turn that judgment inward. When you find yourself judging others, ask yourself what that judgment might be telling you about yourself. Often the things that bother us most in others are reflections of parts of ourselves that we haven't fully accepted. As you practice letting go of judgment, you might find that you feel more connected to others and more at peace with yourself. This openness and connection are key elements of spiritual growth. The 10th habit that can hinder spiritual growth is ignoring your intuition. Your intuition is like an internal compass, guiding you towards what's right for you. But in our rational, logical world, it's easy to dismiss these gut feelings or inner knowings. When we ignore our intuition, we're essentially cutting ourselves off from a valuable source of wisdom. Your intuition can guide you towards experiences, people, or practices that support your spiritual growth. It can also warn you away from situations or choices that might hinder your progress. Learning to listen to your intuition takes practice. Start by paying more attention to your gut feelings. When you're making a decision, notice how different options feel in your body. Does one choice make you feel expansive and light, while another makes you feel heavy or constricted? These physical sensations can be clues from your intuition. You can also try practices like meditation or journaling to help you tune into your inner wisdom. These practices can help quiet the chatter of your mind, making it easier to hear the whispers of your intuition. Remember, your intuition is a powerful tool for spiritual growth. As you learn to trust and follow it more, you might find that your path becomes clearer and more aligned with your true self. The 11th habit we need to address is perfectionism. This might seem like a positive trait at first glance. After all, isn't it good to strive for excellence in our spiritual practices? But perfectionism can actually be a major obstacle to spiritual growth. When we're caught up in perfectionism, we're often motivated by fear of not being good enough, fear of making mistakes, fear of judgment. This fear-based approach can make our spiritual practices feel like a chore or a test, rather than a journey of growth and discovery. Perfectionism can also keep us from trying new things or taking risks in our spiritual path. We might avoid exploring a new practice because we're afraid we won't do it right. Or we might be so focused on achieving a perfect meditation that we miss the insights and growth that come from the process itself. To move past perfectionism, try to shift your focus from achieving a perfect outcome to embracing the process of growth. Remember that making mistakes and facing challenges are important parts of any journey, including your spiritual one. They're opportunities to learn and grow, not failures to be avoided. Practice self-compassion when things don't go as planned. Instead of berating yourself for not being spiritual enough, treat yourself with the same kindness you would offer a good friend. Celebrate your efforts and your willingness to grow, rather than focusing only on the end result. As you let go of perfectionism, you might find that your spiritual practices become more joyful and authentic. You'll be free to explore, to make mistakes, and to grow in ways you might not have imagined when you were striving for perfection. The 12th and final habit that can hinder spiritual growth is a lack of reflection. In our busy lives, it's easy to go through our days on autopilot, never really stopping to think about our experiences or our inner state. But without reflection, it's hard to gain insights or make meaningful changes in our lives. Reflection is like pressing the pause button on life. It gives us a chance to process our experiences, to learn from them, and to integrate them into our understanding of ourselves and the world. Without reflection, we might repeat the same patterns or miss important lessons that life is trying to teach us. Incorporating reflection into your life doesn't have to be complicated. It could be as simple as taking a few minutes at the end of each day to think about what you experienced and how you felt. You might ask yourself questions like, what challenged me today? What brought me joy? What did I learn? Journaling can be a powerful tool for reflection. Writing down your thoughts and feelings can help you process them more deeply and spot patterns over time. You might also try meditation or contemplative practices as ways to reflect more deeply on your experiences and your spiritual journey. Remember, reflection isn't about judging yourself or your experiences. It's about creating space to understand yourself better and to consciously choose how you want to grow and evolve. As we wrap up our discussion of these 12 habits, remember that awareness is the first step towards change. You don't need to tackle all of these habits at once. Start with the one that resonates most with you. Be patient and kind with yourself as you work on making changes. Spiritual growth is a lifelong journey, not a destination. It's about continually evolving, learning, and becoming more of who you truly are. By addressing these habits, you're creating more space for growth and transformation in your life. Remember, you have the power to shape your spiritual journey. Every small step you take, every habit you work on changing is a step towards a more fulfilling and authentic spiritual life. We hope this video has given you some insights and tools to support your spiritual growth. If you found it helpful, please consider sharing it with others who might benefit. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more content on personal and spiritual growth. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of habits that can hinder spiritual growth. We wish you all the best on your spiritual journey. Until next time, take care and keep growing.